Mindset Mavericks, your blueprint for bold thinking and boundless growth.
There's something magnetic about people who face themselves and come out the other side more whole and stronger. Jennifer Watson, our guest today, is one of those people. A former D1 All-American athlete turned transformational coach and founder of Watson Worldwide. Jennifer's mission is to help leaders access a flow state, not by pushing harder, but by tuning in more deeply. Her story isn't just about performance, it's about falling apart, healing, and choosing a new way to live. So welcome to Mindset Mavericks. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, John. I'm really honored to be here and pour into your community. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it sounds, as I've said, quite an interesting background, your college athlete background, etc., which I'd love to dive into. So where I want to begin really is, who were you before all the accolades? What were you like growing up?
You know, it's so funny. I've been a high performer a lot of my life. I've always loved to master things, not just as an athlete, but as a student in my business, just other things outside of business. But you know what? As a kid, John, I was goofy. And I still am. And it's interesting. I've come full circle in believing, like we've talked about, what you introduced me as is the journey to come full circle and realize the balance of being who you really are on a full spectrum, and that actually pulls out more of better performance, more of things that feel aligned versus overwhelming. So I pulled it back in, but I was a goofball. I loved, I was serious at times for sure, but I was definitely a goofball, and I loved to laugh, and I loved to play outdoors and explore things and play with friends. And I have an identical twin sister, and making jokes and pulling tricks on people as identical twins. And I just was a kid that honestly really enjoyed having fun. And I've really, again, pulled that into what I do, not only for myself, but for the people I work with, that we have a tendency as adults, and especially high performers, to just be like serious and drill ourselves in the ground and always going after that mastery and focus. But the way the brain and the body works, as well as what we enjoy as human beings, is this balance and full spectrum of life. And when we play more, we actually perform better. When we play more, we actually connect more with people. When we play more, we actually regulate our nervous system to be calm and actually increase its capacity when we have stressful times. So I've really ironically pulled that little girl back into what I do now. And I'm not perfect at it, but I try to really humbly practice what I preach. And I often talk about play and movement and dance and things that really activate you besides work, and how that really translates into being a better leader and performer of impact and whatever that is for you.
So I think the first thought that came to mind when you're talking about yourself in those early days, you don't stereotypically think of playful, being a bit goofy and things, with that determination it takes to get to being
Yeah.
a high level athlete. So where did the determination come from then to kind of knuckle down and train hard and get to that level?
Well, again, that was a natural part of me as well. I was really playful, but I was also very focused, determined to master something. I will say this, I have also become full circle in what I consider healthy performance to be. I'm a practitioner by trade. After becoming an athlete, I became a holistic, integrative physical therapist because my journey in wellness was really in mental health, where I was physically doing well, but mentally, emotionally, I was taking exhaustion, overwhelm with performing well after I got out of sports. When I first started my first job and I turned into a leadership role and I was doing all the things, when I moved into my first business, like I really drained and pushed myself and did hours and intensity where it worked for a while. Quote, it worked for a while. So a lot of you high performers that are on here saying, Jennifer, I get it, but I'm successful. I get that. But what happens is one of two things. And what happened to me is it became not sustainable to work that hard and feel like I was burning myself to the ground, but also wasn't joyful. I'm like, I'm doing something that supposedly I loved and I want to master and give to the world, but now I hate it because of where I'm at mentally, emotionally. So my journey in understanding what full wellness was, in particular for me, mentally emotional health, is actually what helped me ultimately catapult performance in a better way for my business, that ultimately helped its bottom line and its impact and connecting with the right team, but also teaching others to do the same. When I first opened my PT practice in 2008, John, the first book I read was The 4-Hour Work Week. And I remember as a high performer, I'm like, how is this even possible? And the irony is, everyone, the irony is, as a wellness provider, I actually knew that the brain and body does best with a lot of breaks during the day, play, not working as much, not working for hours. Yet I was fighting this pattern I learned as a kid to actually burn myself to the ground. And also, I had an unhealthy relationship to performance that I got all the accolades as an athlete. I got all the attention, and I started connecting that to worth and love. So I had two big things. And a lot of you high performers that are on here, or not even high performers, people wanting to really do great things in the world. Two things, if you're like me, I had to break the pattern of worth to mastery and doing well at something. And number two, break this idea that I had to work 15-hour days, burn myself to the ground, air quote, for the cause while everybody else is doing fine. And there's a lot of psychology behind that, a lot of trauma behaviors attached to that, which we don't have to necessarily go into today. But if you're in one of those two categories, everyone, but you're still succeeding, or maybe it's taking now a lot more effort and you're starting to see it go downhill, because those are two areas to explore, to start looking at what is my connection to performance? Is it healthy? Can I start looking at it a different way? And when I started shifting from this burn myself to the ground, it's all about showing my accolades so people think that I'm worthy. When I started rewiring that, which took coaching, counseling, I started moving into this, what I call healthy performance. It allowed me to start aligning with my mind and my body to optimize how it actually works well, but also more importantly, how my lifestyle could really be a full, balanced, fun lifestyle that allowed me to succeed, everyone, but not be in this space of fight or flight, not be in this space of always feeling that I had to succeed at something. And when you start changing your relationship to performance, whatever that is, everyone, whether it be performance in sports, performance in business, performance in whatever, and start shifting it, it starts actually becoming fun again. You're actually focused more on the mastery of what you want to give to the world. And that starts increasing your desire to do more with it. It starts increasing your capacity to handle trials and hurdles that come with mastery, everyone, ironically, when you start playing more. People are like, well, if things are going to come, they're going to be hard as I get more masterful at this thing that I desire. Shouldn't I just be pushing myself? Well, no, you guys, I teach a lot of different ways of performing and resilience that the mind and body actually appreciate and adore. And then from that space, you become increased capacity and resilience in a healthy way for things that are naturally going to come up when you're on this mastery road for performance and what you're giving to the world. So that's a lot, you guys, that I'm giving you. But more importantly, I just want you to be aware, what's your relationship to performance? And from that space, rewiring it to one that is healthy, that is aligned, that doesn't make you feel burnout, that doesn't make you feel like you, quote, have to perform, but allows your unique mind body brilliance to actually come to the stage, that you can actually executively, acutely perform in a way for what you're leading, who you're helping get to that next level. And when you can increase a capacity in a healthy way and be in that alignment with who you really are, things start changing and performance becomes fun again, and what you're creating becomes fun again.
Yeah, as I say, there's a lot to take in now. I think what I'd really like to do is, because as you've said, you typically find yourself in the stage of burnout, and it's only when you're there that you realize you're in it. And there's
Yeah.
two things I wanted to kind of look into first before we go into how we solve it and how we fix it, and how you do start becoming top level performer while still having fun. So, as a top level athlete, how did that actually shape your self-worth?
Yeah, so, as an athlete, it was that's all I was. That was a huge identity. A lot of athletes going into, whether you're, college or Olympian, going into what I call, quote, normal life. It's kind of like military going back into civilian life. Like your identity is totally shifting. So that was really rough for me. Like, who am I out of sport? But I actually believe if I would have had more of a healthy sport relationship, that would the transition would have been better. And what I mean is, I was all about the accolades. I was all about getting on, I was in fight or flight half the time that I was on the track, because I felt like I was, at a D1 school being pushed, like, if you don't perform, there's might be something that happens to your scholarship, or I won't be seen as well. So the irony is, being a high level athlete allowed me to learn student and athlete work-life balance. It did allow me to master my mind in some ways of like not having good race and then getting back on the track and having a good one. And it also imprinted what I will call dysfunctional relationships to mental health and resilience. Many athletes will say this to you, John, that in many ways we think of like the high level athletes that do well, they're mindset masters. And yeah, in one bucket they are in performance, but in many other areas, they really struggle with depression, anxiety. We see it all the time because they connect performance to worth, or performance to, I have to get this done or I'm going to have something taken away from me. And there's this constant fight or flight. The best athletes don't have that type of relationship. And the ones that are consistently doing well understand you don't have to be in fight or flight. Understand that it's not about worth, but mastering your craft. So in some ways, I learned many things of time management, higher level leadership skills, resilience, and mindset on the track. But I also carried with me dysfunctional behaviors to performance. And I ironically work with a lot of prior athletes in taking some of the goodness, right, from being an athlete, which is so beautiful, but also breaking patterns specifically in performance and what it means, and moving it now obviously into what I do, but also starting that even in my PT practice and healing that relationship. And it took some time to do that. But ultimately, that's where athleticism really crafted and honed into the person I am. I learned a lot of great things: leadership, resilience, balancing work-life balance. But I took a lot of things that weren't good, specifically in performance, that I had to break through and rewire into what I did as a human being, what I did as a business leader. And it's a beautiful thing. I'm going to say this, everyone, whatever performance you want to optimize in and mastering something for your business or something you want to bring to the world, I'm just going to encourage you to, whether you reach out to me or explore how you really work best, like what your body is saying to you. I often talk to people: listen to your body's communication all the time. Your body gives you communication every day on what helps it heal, what helps it perform. And we ignore those signs because we're listening to everybody around us. I argue all the time that, the reason why a lot of high level leaders and performers get exhausted and overwhelmed, it has nothing honestly to do with the thing that they're going after. It has to do with the way within which they're approaching it. And it also has to do with them not being willing to do it in a different way. It has to do with them not being willing to navigate some of the tougher conversations and decisions that they need to make with their team behind the scenes. I don't think burnout really comes from what we think it comes from. I think it comes from us not truly being who we really are, stepping in that space, trusting how we want to step in and perform and also lead our organization, being willing to navigate tough conversations and decisions that requires higher level of emotional intelligence, higher capacity of leadership during tough times, because that's when decisions and conversations happen and performance is required, right? So I take a whole different angle on performance and what it means to actually step in and through when you're going through hard times. Burnout does not need to happen, but it requires the leader to go within and know what makes them tick and align to that, and then step in and give that to their team with aligned conversations, aligned decision making, hard conversations, hard decision making that requires a higher level of emotional intelligence and capacity of the leader. And I teach this framework in what I talk about when I work with clients, from executive high performance leadership and also increasing your capacity to be able to show up as fully you and your gifting without burning yourself out, specifically during transition, challenge, and change, because that's when it needs to show up. That's when we get burnt out, right? When we're challenged, when more is on our plate, or when something has happened in our business, or something has happened externally that affects our business. Like, how can we perform in a healthy way? How can we lead our team and show that by our actions, but also by our decisions, by the communication that we're willing to have with the team? Burnout can be eliminated when we look at performance differently, when we connect with our team differently, when we increase our capacity as leaders to navigate conversations and decisions differently, especially during hard times. I truly believe we can nullify burnout. It doesn't have to be there, but we have to access it through a different way, by accessing leadership and performance at a higher level that's required of us in 2025.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, as you've alluded to, do tie their self-worth and their value on those external things which are going on around them, whether it's, as you say, a business owner. If you're doing well, profits are up, you feel fantastic about yourself. And if you're going through a tough time, the completely opposite happens. And that can be all areas of life, whether it's being a parent, and if something isn't going great, you start giving yourself those self-talk. So you really have to be quite vulnerable to assess what it is in your life and
Well,
identify
it's
those areas which are causing you harm. So how do you actually objectively start looking at your self-worth and not tying it into all these external factors?
Man, what I encourage everybody to do is really go back to what puts you on fire. What feels like you. You know what I'm talking about? Where you do an activity or you're involved in a project where you're like, that feels so mean, you feel lit up, right? You feel lit up on all cylinders. I want all of you to go back to, and if you don't know what that is, try different things, be around different people, try different opportunities. What lights you up? The reason why I tell you to do that, to take care of self-worth, is you got to figure out when you've packed on lies and a certain behavior, it's hard to even know what your core values are, how you want to show up, what really gets you going, how you want to impact the world. Play, go out and explore different things and start writing that down. Like, this type of project lights me up. I notice that's part of my core values. These type of people light me up. When you start doing that, you start honing your soul. You guys, you start honing who you really are. And the reason why that's important, when you get more congruent on that and more clear on that, and then start bit by bit making activities and decisions every day from that space, what feels good to you, you start honing your self-worth that's detached from outcome, that's detached from performance. A lot of times we try to, like, okay, I shouldn't think this way, Jennifer, I perform for others. I get that. There's a lot of frameworks we do to break free of that pattern, because if it's been in you for a while, it's been in you for a while. It's going to be hard. You know it up here not to do it, but it's wired in you. So there's a lot of frameworks I use to break that through. But honestly, if you just start playing in things and activities and be around different people and environments, you start getting, again, what makes you tick. And when you do that, again, you get more congruency in who you really are. And you start having confidence in that. And you start feeling just worthy of that without anything that's going on around you. Because we all know, as business leaders or high performers, we probably fail more times than we succeed. Anybody I've interviewed, when I look at my successes, I filled out 20 applications for a TEDx and got denied 20 times before I even got on a TEDx stage. I have failed in more businesses than I've succeeded. But the reason why I was able to do that and get back on the plate or back on the horse and step through that hurdle is because I'd gone back to who I really was and why I was doing what I was doing, and knowing that my worth was not connected to the outcome. I just had to shift, like, okay, how do I do this differently? Because I know this is a part of who I am. So I'm going to encourage all of you. There's a lot of deeper frameworks I work on with people. Experimenting. A lot of times you think you know, maybe you don't know. Play a little bit. Find out what lights you up. What core values are connected to that? What impact does feeds you right now? And when you start getting congruent with that, your self-worth and your gifting is there no matter what happens externally. I don't care if it's a personal loss, a personal hurdle, or a personal failure, or business loss, a business failure. When you start knowing that you are enough here, you start believing that no matter what's going on out there, it's just another glitch. And again, how you do that is start having fun with yourself. Like, get to the point, like, I actually like hanging out with myself. And here's the deal, everyone. One of our top 6 human needs, one is, yes, stability. All of us want stability. That's part of our top human needs. But guess what? Out of the 6, number 2 is our desire for growth and change, and actually problems. You guys, because what do problems and adversity do? It causes our brain or body in some way, shape, or form. I teach how to do it in a powerful way so you don't plummet and fall back, but it desires to grow. It desires problems. Anymore, when I have a problem, a big or small, I go, good. And I rub my hands together because I know it gives my body and my brain an opportunity to grow, to increase in a capacity in something, to increase in knowledge in something. And again, when you've separated worth from it, okay, right? You've gotten really congruent on what you're bringing in the world, having fun with you, really like yourself. When a problem comes and it keeps coming up, you don't go, oh, I suck. You go, yes, I know who I am. I know the gifting I have. This is an opportunity for me to learn something. This is an opportunity to try a different way to problem solve this. This is like, your body likes that. And again, I teach a lot in my programs how to access your mind and body brilliantly when you have a challenge versus going down the path of shutting down, because that happens with us when we feel overwhelmed. But when you can just start doing that, you guys, get on the mat, find out what makes you feel good about you and you think you're cool. Start with that, like I said, in the number 2. Even if it's something like that, rub your hands together, good. Give yourself an opportunity to grow. Your body wants that. It doesn't see a problem as bad, you guys. We put that on ourselves by the layers we put on, by how we grew up, by the society we put, that maybe we live in. Having a lot of problems is a good thing and it says something about me, instead of saying, no, my body actually likes this. Knowing how to access it where it feels safe to give answers, something I teach as well in my programs, is that next step. But you can just at least start by going, hey, what is my self-worth? What makes me tick? What do I love about me? Knowing I have something to give, no matter what the problem is out there. When a problem comes, how can I step in the mat with my mind and body brilliance? How do I activate that at a higher level to perform and get my team to do the same? How can I increase my capacity to handle the problems, which is another thing I teach in my program, is leadership capacity. Because we know if you're leading something, you guys, you're going to have a lot more problems than the average person just sitting on a couch. Okay. You got to increase your capacity to handle problems. You got to increase your ability to understand how the mind body works, to get it to get on board with you with the problem. You got to continue to break that bond of worth to doing it right every time. And when you start layering that, you start seeing the momentum. You guys, I am human. It doesn't mean I don't have bad days. There's days I'm like, this problem sucks. But what I've learned to do is collapse time. I might feel bad for a moment and get into the worth issue. And then I have frameworks to break free of that. I might think, how can I deal with this problem? Then I tap into what I know I tap into really brilliantly, my mind and brain and body, to handle the problem. Teach my team to do the same. There's so much with that. And I love that.
So I'm definitely one of those people who, when it does stuff start getting tough and things are stressful, you're working lots of hours, all those fun things drop off, whether it's going to the gym, going to play football with the kids, and you tend to kind of cocoon yourself and just try and deal with that stress internally, which I'm guessing is probably not the right thing to be doing, certainly from what you've been saying. So I
Yeah.
know that burnout can seem quite vague and people don't necessarily realize when they're about to hit burnout or in burnout. So what are some of the things people should be looking out for?
First off, I'm going to say this before I give you guys the signs. I'm going to invite you in to a different definition of burnout. Okay. And I just want you guys to take a deep breath and think about this. Burnout, I truly believe, ultimately, and all the symptoms that happen, they're all different for everyone. We'll go through some of those right now. Honestly, comes and stems from you not being who you really are and having the voice to state it out in the world and create boundaries around it. You guys, as we go through kind of some burnout things and then things to reflect on, if you're not only there, but things you can do to deal with it, so many of our day in, day out activities, guys, not just work related, that we feel like we have 20 things, or family related, all the things. When we're really honest, like get really honest, like write it out. I guarantee you some of the things and responsibilities we have aren't even things we desire to do, one, or if we're like, I would like to do it, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it effectively. We don't use our voice to create boundaries around things that we truly desire, or the voice when we're struggling to get support. We don't use our voice to get support. You guys, burnout, mental health, exhaustion, overwhelm, even though we've gotten to this point of it's more acceptable to chat about, which I love. And there's so many modalities, by the way, which we won't get necessarily into all of them today, obviously, to help support it. And it's becoming more common to talk about in cultures, in team cultures. It's still this taboo thing, like kind of suck it up, buttercup, or don't necessarily talk about it with others that you don't feel safe around. Like, you guys, this is a big deal. And I'm going to, just like when we talk about mental health, exhaustion, overwhelm, burnout, they're all kind of in this umbrella of things we still in certain environments, specifically in work, don't trust that it's okay to talk about, and trust to say, this is what my healthy boundary is. Can we look at opportunities to support me in this space? It's still a little bit of taboo. And until we get super honest with what we're currently doing personally, professionally, and really looking at like, do these demands, these responsibilities really align with me? And the ones that do I feel like I'm doing them in a healthy way? Do I need support here? You guys, it's really about being super honest with yourself. coming up with a game plan to speak to other people to support you, to speak your truth, to speak what is needed for you to stay in a space. And again, I help people with this all the time. And there's a lot of frameworks to help boost the mind body, to get better in energy and clarity and alignment and working well. But a lot of it comes down to you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing, that you don't want to do, or you need support in, and you're not using your voice. There's fear around that. I see high level leaders and people that have been working with teams for so long, and we have such a fear because it's another human need. We want to be a part of a community. We want to contribute. We don't want to be ousted. We don't. So there's still all this psychology. And the reason why I'm spending a lot of time with this, we're going to go through some symptoms and maybe some things to start creating traction to move out of it. But at the end of the day, it's just like that iceberg picture. 75% of it is the psychology underneath that's causing the external burnout above water. And the psychology underneath, there's many things around that. But honestly, a lot of it is, what are you creating? What life are you creating? Do you even want to be creating it? The responsibilities you have, do you even want to have those? And the ones that you do, are you getting the proper support? Are you using your voice to create the boundary around what you desire, and then getting support through your voice to make things happen without even getting to burnout? So I'm going to encourage all of you to journal about that. Write down all your responsibilities of the day. Are they aligned with the things you actually want in this life? And I'm not saying everything in your life and responsibilities are happy-go-lucky. What I'm saying is that the responsibilities you have, do you feel good with them? Does it align with where you want to go? Do you have the right support to make that happen? It's a very big step, you guys. And if you don't, it's really looking at ways to support you. What are the beliefs behind that? What is the psychology behind that? That is the most important, you guys. The most important. So if you're experiencing some of the symptoms we're going to say right now, you need to look at that first before you get any type of frameworks or help. You know, I'm a coach and I coach on this. It's really getting honest with what you're doing in your day in, day out. And is it something that aligns? So after that step, you guys, we start in some other frameworks we can give you. But as far as burnout, everyone, it manifests differently in all of us. Okay. A lot of us are going to notice, I will say this, subtle signs. What did I say at the beginning of this podcast? Our body's always communicating to us. Always, 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 always. And usually when we get to the point that we're breaking, we're like, oh my gosh, I'm really burnt out. It's already starting. And what I would say, a lot of things you want to look at is really a lot of low energy is a big one for a lot of people. No matter how much diet, exercise, sleep you get, you're very low energy. Okay. And again, that's subjective what low energy is. We're not necessarily going to go through that today, but just assess like where you were at maybe a year ago, a month ago, and you're doing quote, air quote, all the things, diet, exercise, sleep to try to help yourself, and you're still feeling low energy. You're disconnected from the things that used to light you up, whether it be at work or with your family or outside, just things that were playful for you. You don't have any motivation to do them. You're not excited about them anymore. Some of that can be for other reasons, but some of it can be due to burnout. You become more agitated more easily in things that usually don't bother you, right? You have a lower capacity for the things because your tub is already over flooded. So things that usually don't bother you, all of a sudden bother you. You have a lower resilience to things that are more simple for you. And you're like, why is this feeling this way? And maybe you lash out or maybe you start eating to just like give yourself comfort or start drinking more, right? A lot of times addictions start happening at this place because you're feeling so overwhelmed, you're feeling agitated, you're feeling exhausted. You start having addictions to appease you, even if it's short term. This can be alcohol, this can be social media, can be pornography, can be over exercising, this can be scrolling through your phone to not deal with it. You guys, these are big ones. Okay. Now, really write these down. These are big things. Addiction to things that you're not usually addicted to. Not having tolerance to things that you thought that you always have tolerance to and you're lashing out. Lower energy and you're not knowing why you're doing, quote, everything right. Things that you used to love, you don't love anymore. A lot of these symptoms are in alignment with also depression, also anxiety, also overwhelm, because a lot of these initial things kind of go off each other, okay? Maybe some of you are having a problem even finishing projects at work, because your brain now is in this chaos of exhaustion. It's not even working right. Maybe you're starting to gain weight. Maybe you're not having connection with people you usually have connection with. You're communicating not as well. So you guys, a lot of this overwhelm, exhaustion, burnout, what I really want you to get from these symptoms is what you used to be, you're seeing it's not as easy to do it anymore. Just start reflecting on some of the things I just mentioned: energy, relationships, lower tolerance to things that usually don't bother you, things that usually motivate you and drive you don't anymore. Those are signs of other things, and depression, anxiety, and maybe changing your career because there's something you're not excited about. So there's a lot of layers to this that I work on with clients. It gets really clear where the problem is coming from. But just by, you guys, just like the list I told you to make, really step back and be aware, like, what am I doing in my life? What am I not happy about? What is happening now that wasn't happening a year ago? What's happening in my relationships? What's happening to my energy? What's happening to the things I used to be excited about? What's happening, like all that. So all this, you guys, you can tell by some of the things I just mentioned, they touched on physical, they touched on emotional, mental, and relational. Just start, honestly, you guys, this podcast is not about giving you a bunch of information. What I really want you to learn about all this, whether we're talking about performance, whether it be talking about burnout, whether it be talking about you want something different for your life, I'm going to encourage all of you, just sit in a room by yourself, get grounded, feet on the floor, even take a few deep breaths and meditate, and get a book out, a journal, and start writing. Like, be honest. It may be hard. Maybe you don't like your life right now. Maybe that's why you're all burnt out, because you're, doing things you don't even like. Like, it's amazing what starts happening when you journal. Like, really, what does my life look like right now, responsibility wise? What do I not like about it? What do I want to change? What are some of my patterns and behaviors during the day that I don't like, that aren't leading me to a change? I'm drinking more. I'm disconnected with people. Like, you guys, you start becoming really aware. I'm a big believer in coaches. I believe it helps you get there faster. Collapse times, you can't always see your blind spots on some of the stuff that I'm talking about. And they also have, like me, frameworks to get you really clear on where you want to go, staying in that, getting frameworks to move you out of addiction, out of overwhelm, out of exhaustion, and get you back in your lane in what you're leading. But it does start with awareness. It starts with just being honest with what you're doing with your life. And it often comes in these subtle things, you guys, subtle energy changes, subtle addictive behaviors happening, subtle like tension and with people that don't really honestly have tension with. Sudden, I'm getting upset for no reason. And again, there can be other reasons why that's happening. We are complex, multi-layered people, but journal about this, you guys. What does your life look like with your responsibilities and demands? Do you like it? What are other behaviors you're putting into the plate that you know here consciously are not good behaviors, but you don't know how to break free of that? And this is where just starting that will create traction for you to start moving out of burnout just by being aware of it. Because when you see yourself during the day, a lot of times you can stop the pattern a little bit. Again, I believe coaching, consulting is honestly, and you guys, I'm not just plugging coaches. You guys, I'm just gonna be honest, I have coaches because I teach this stuff and I can't always see when I'm on the inside of the bottle. Your coach is going to help you collapse time, get frameworks to move you out of burnout into something that you love with vitality and freedom and happiness that I am in now. They have frameworks for that. We have frameworks for that. They can see things that you can't see. And I'm telling you, that can be the next step for you. But if you're noticing any of those symptoms, you've done the work of looking at your demands, you're seeing, wow, this isn't where I want my life. The next step might be to get some support to help you move during this transition of whatever you're in that's not allowing you to show up fully, so you can step in fully into the transition of the thing that you desire in this life, the impact that you want to create, the way you want to lead something, the way you want to increase capacity in beautiful ways. I'm telling you, I say this all the time, this human machine is so powerful. If you learn how it works, the mind and body, and then you combine that with who you really are and getting super clear on that, you become unstoppable during hard times. You become unstoppable when people usually burn out. You don't. Like, there's a lot of mastery to this, you guys, combined with who you really are. Master of your mind and body brilliance, combined with getting clear on who you really are, what you want to do, and that you're worthy no matter what happens along the trials that come to become that person. And when you combine those through the right frameworks during trials, change, and transition, you're the one on top. You're the one living in vitality. You're not the one burnout. You're leading in a capacity that's unstoppable. You're leading causes that only you and your team can do. There's people that survived and thrived in 2020. There's people that survived and thrived in 2008. My first clinic opened in 2008, and we had 6 figures by the end of that year. You guys, you know why? And I truly believe this because they're doing some of the things we're talking about. You have to be willing to do the work, you guys, to see truly where you're at. And even if it's subtle, I don't have that much burnout, great. Start where it's easy, where you're kind of noticing just a little bit. Because when you're in the hole, I was a healthcare provider, you guys, when you're deeper in the hole, it takes more stuff to get out of it. Let's get you from I'm okay, a little burnout, to I'm freaking great, and shattering the glass ceiling on doing things that are in vitality in this machine that I know can work for me during challenging times. And all of us have the opportunity to do that, you guys. We're all human and we can do that together.
And I think coaching is a great method of doing it. I think one of the difficult things is that just human nature, that you'll speak to yourself a lot more harshly than you would your best friend. And that's even more so when you are in burnout or feeling stressed or exhausted. So actually
Yeah,
getting
and
a
you
third
guys are.
party, it's a great thing to do.
And you guys, we're all of our brains are a little bit wired to do that. They're wired to keep us safe. So when they're wired to keep us safe, they're wired to really look at everything out there that's a problem and expand on it. So that's why we can really get in this negative mindset of, oh my gosh, this and this problem. But it's okay when you understand, like, I hear you, and there's so many frameworks I teach that are small and short. It doesn't have to take 3 hours of meditation to move your brain and body into a better frequency, into a more aligned, positive state of where you want to go. But there is a framework that I use specifically to move through that, to rewire things, and not just do incantations, because incantations, I'm going to be honest, quite frankly, are not good enough. There's a lot of rewiring that has to happen at the cellular nervous system level that I work on with people to actually move you into a space that you consistently do as you say that you want to believe about yourself, versus just saying a cantation that sounds good. But you guys, at the end of the day, it still starts with awareness, starting with some of the stuff we've talked about, looking at your relationship to performance. That helps a lot of people with burnout, looking at your demands and responsibilities. Do they align with you? Looking at really some opportunities to really, do I have some of these symptoms? Or what am I doing that's not in my truth? What can I do that's one thing to shift out of that? All that stuff is going to help create traction. Coaching just uses frameworks to get you there a little bit faster in an accelerated way, and allows you to move out of burnout into who you really are and see your blind spots. So I'm a big advocate of that. For all of you guys that are listening to this podcast, I did have a second TEDx that came out last year called The Chemistry of Resilience. And it was talking about some of the things we're talking about. It was focused on for high performers and how we get burnout and exhausted when there's a lot of problems. And I taught about how the chemistry of resilience is really understanding the chemistry of your mind and body during problems that can actually help you accelerate success during problems and stay in vitality doing it. So I encourage all of you. It's Jennifer Watson, Chemistry of Resilience, and it teaches some other additional frameworks that you can use as high performers to keep you out of burnout and allow you to perform well during hard times that feels aligned, authentic, not in low energy, and allows you to accelerate success even during hard times.
One of the things we keep coming back to is having some intuition about what keeps you motivated and happy and feeling in tune with yourself. And I'm sure, no doubt there's people out there listening who do feel disconnected from their body and their intuition. Do you have a daily habit or actionable tip that listeners could do today, which could help them be more in intuition, really, with their own bodies?
Yeah. Thank you for bringing it up. It's one of the favorite things I talk about when I do leadership training is intuitive decision making, intuitive communication, intuitive living. Intuitive mastery, I believe, John, is one of the top 5 skills, higher level skills that leaders need in 2025. For a variety of reasons, which we won't necessarily go into intuitive leadership today, and why it's important. But you guys, I have a 7 levels deep intuitive mastery framework that I teach in my program, because that's how important it is for leaders. Again, we won't go through all that today, but yes, intuition in all areas of our life, but yes, particularly in what you're leading your cause, is so, so important. And intuition, you guys, is basically antennas to your radio station, which is your sole purpose, who you are, why you're here, what are your core values, and what are you going to contribute to society. That's literally all it is. Intuition, when you know how to use it, is basically looking out in the world and bringing people, places, and opportunities to you to decide upon to expand your unique radio station. That's all it is, you guys. And there's a lot of science behind this. Intuition lives in each of us. And a lot of us think it's this fluff thing and like gut instinct. What is it? You guys, we've all had times in our life where we're like, I knew I shouldn't have done that. I had a gut feeling, or I did do that. I had that gut feeling. I went with it and it went well. We've all done it. But what I want you guys all to know is we need to use it consistently, not just randomly, that it's always there crying out, again, part of your body's communication to tell you what it needs to be its full self, John, for you to be your full self, which honestly, at the end of the day, if there's nothing else you get from this podcast, is learning how to stay authentic and true to your truest self, your real self, is your place where you will have the highest performance, is your place where you will create the greatest influence. And the way that you can start doing that is by one, start playing with intuition. When you get those little nudges, get on the mat more so you can grow it, because it's your body saying, I like that because that's really me. And the second thing I'm going to encourage you guys to do to get used to, like, what is this? Like, who am I? How do I tap into my real self every day? What I said at the beginning of this podcast. Many of you think you know, but you may not know. Go into different environments, be around different people, try different activities, play the violin, try a different thing with your leadership team. That's how you get who you really are. Because in intuition, the antennas can't pull in the right things to you if you're like, I have no idea who I am, right? Because remember, it's your radio station. I love intuition, but to back up, that's where I always start with people. We teach a lot on 7 levels of intuitive mastery, which is very, very powerful in my program. But even before you get into trying and just playing with intuition every day, when you feel the nudge, the only way it can start feeling the nudge and you feel good about taking a step into the decision with the nudge is knowing who you really are. And it requires you to just get on the mat and play, you guys, and start going, wow, that feels good. That feels right. We all feel it differently as far as gut, you guys. And I teach that in my program as well. But trying things to see who you really are. Then from that space of knowing who you really are, then you can start going with these nudges more, where it starts expanding more who you really are, making you decide to do things around different people and places and opportunities. And then when really tough decisions come, you've become so congruent with who you really are and you've practiced intuition, then really hard, deals, like you're making $1 million deals or you're having to make a tough decision. You've done it so much, you don't even think twice about it. Oprah, Elon Musk talks about utilizing intuition on multi-million-dollar deals, you guys. And they start with, I guarantee you, I haven't interviewed either one of them, but I guarantee you they started with, who am I? What is my gifting? What do I want to bring to the world? From that soul space, my radio station, they started using intuition, and it's collapsed time for them, you guys, and it's available to all of us. So that would be my answer to your question for sure.
What it makes me feel when you're describing intuition, it really makes me think about flow state. And it feels like that's where it's coming from. You're feeling in a good place, everything's going well, you're confident in your decision making. It does make me very much think about flow state. Is that how you define flow state?
I teach a lot about flow state in my programs, and one way to enhance it is tapping into your unique intuition, for sure. Because flow state, the neurophysiology, the biohacks to get your brain and body, those days where you're like, I feel so on point, time stands still, I'm getting a lot done, I'm connecting with my team. We've all had that. It's just like intuition, but learning how to tap into it consistently, especially, you guys, especially during hard times or hard decisions, is absolutely key. And one of the things I teach is absolutely honing your intuition to get you into flow state. That's probably worthy even another podcast of tools and techniques during hard times or chaos or when you're really, really busy. And there's ways of doing that. But from a barest bone, you guys, what flow state is at its barest bone. It's your unique mind and body's brilliance performing in an elite way no matter the environment. That's what flow state is. You guys, it's not peak performance, not elite. It's literally your unique hardwired mind and body brilliance that shows up in an elite capacity during any environment, you guys. We can't wait for everything to be zen. You guys, there's times like that too, but flow state is not influenced. It should be separated from what's going on in the outside world. That's why we aren't in flow a lot of times, because we wait till it's like all zen. To tap into it consistently, to tap into your intuition consistently, is knowing how to amplify your mind and body brilliance at an elite level no matter the environment. And part of the frameworks I teach is pulling in your intuition, because again, it's your intent is to, I can get you how to do this, but there's a lot other biohacking, neurophysiology type of ways to access this, especially during busy, chaotic storms, you guys, because we all know at the end of the day, all of us have our days that are harder, struggles, hurdles, mindset is off. And if we don't know how to tap into our intuition and flow state quickly and move out of like an unaligned state to an aligned state and a high level of performance and mindset, we're going to take 2 steps forward and 1 step back in all aspects of our life. So that's why I'm so, I'm so passionate about flow state. I'm so passionate about intuition, because it's a way of accessing your mind body brilliance. And it also helps you increase your capacity as a leader when your team's going through tough times. You guys, again, being in flow, learning intuition is a high level leadership trait I believe is necessary. We have a world that is moving faster than ever before, which means more problems come at our door more than ever before. And you better, by God, know how to individually and collectively as a team get into flow state, utilize intuition to combine that with AI so you can get the strategies for problem solving of whatever it is that you have to problem solve. So it's a big passion of mine, but partially because I know it's such a bottleneck barrier for a lot of leaders. You guys, I'm going to just say this. AI and systems are beautiful. They collapse time. They help with productivity. They help with team communication 100%. But if you and your team do not know how to get out of burnout, if you and your team do not know how to tap into your mind and body brilliance when you're really overwhelmed and chaos is happening and a lot of things are on your guys' plate, you're not going to be able to use your systems and AI well, period. But if you do choose to learn frameworks, and that's something I teach all the time, to get in flow, to create an elite culture during challenge and change, that will create an environment that's elite, that communicates well, that performs well, that produces well, and yes, affects your bottom line and the impact you're going to give to the world. So learning this is so key for all of you. It's not just about getting out of burnout. It's about, let's forget just getting out of it. Let's actually get this to work well for us in a healthy way. So you're not even touching burnout, but you're actually getting through problems and you're getting right back in your lane really powerfully. And when you learn to do that, your team and you become unstoppable, because your capacity is there to handle anything and move into your power every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Well, what I'd like to ask you about is the reason you actually created Run Your Race Global. What's the deeper reason behind it?
Well, I work with a lot of just, I call it the 1%, the higher level leader. And people say, what do you mean by that? Like, I'm like, it's people that have been highly successful, but they are wanting to go to this exceptional space with the new impact, the new deeper purpose they're creating. They have a lot of experience. They've done a lot in this life, but they realize they need to be at a higher level of influence and potency with their higher level impact they want to create. And with that comes higher level problems, a lot higher level problems. I always say some of my high level leaders, like, I wish I had that problem that I had 20 years ago. It's the whole new level, new devil. The 1% leader that's on this race, the global race that I've really created for people, are leaders that have had the success, but realize they need to go to a whole new level of influence and impact in a world that needs their specific gift and their specific impact. And they realize they need higher level skill sets and tools to do it, not only in leadership, not only in wellness, but also just in executing things within their team to go to that next level. So I made Run Your Race Global for those higher level 1% leaders that have been successful, but realize they need higher level skill sets because they're dealing with higher level problems and need to move through them quickly to create a higher level of influence in a world that is so fast paced. And it came from that because I'm a runner, I called it, the Run Your Race Global, and it's so powerful. And it's something that I'm continuing to work on with people. And I love to work on with leaders of all stages and stuff. But this is really for those leaders that are at a new level of impact that is maybe even international, that they are looking to step in more powerfully. And I always tell people all the time, what do? I help people really navigate really tough problems by activating higher level skill sets and mind body brilliance to move through really hard shit at the end of the day. Like that's really what it is. And that global race really came from that. And I do this at all levels of leadership, but definitely from that space of we're not messing around. We're making sure that we're as a community. It's a mastermind where we're feeding off each other. It's just not just me. We're making sure that we're having higher level conversations that's required of us versus what we've been doing at a different level.
I'd like to just ask a couple of quick fire questions, really, to learn a little bit about your mindset and where some of that has stemmed from. So can you tell me one book that's changed everything for you? Or one person?
Man. I've had so many. I've been blessed with so many amazing people in my life. Each stage of my life, like high level, powerful, beautiful, kind people wanting to contribute to the world for good. So many. So I just want to say that I'm so blessed that way. I would say, as far as the book, I've had so many personal development books, but I will have to say Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is for sure probably my top 5 personal development book. I like fiction too, that changes my life, but as far as my top 5 personal development, it is Think and Grow Rich. I know that's a very popular one, people know that, but I reread that. There's parts that when I'm at different levels in my life, I see it differently. It's like going back to the Bible. Just because you read it once, when you go back to a certain book, you're now at a different space. I love that book. I always get something new out of it for my life, personally, professionally. So if you guys haven't read it, I have it earmarked, highlighted, circled. Read that book. It's probably one of my top 5 personal development books of all time, for sure. As far as people, they've been so many. But my person, my advocate, my mentor of all time is Jesus. So he has been a part of my life. I have a relationship with him, and he guides everything I do. To me, whether you believe in his story or not, just fiction, I think it's a great book to read because I believe he exudes some of the best leadership skills during hard times that I've obviously ever seen. Not only if it's just a fictional book, for some may believe that, or if you believe that it was beyond that, his mission and the way he led has obviously transcended time, and I get so much humbly from reading about him, but I have so many other amazing people in my world that have made a big difference.
That's 2 very popular recommendations. So yeah, both have featured before, and yeah, we get so many recommendations, particularly for the book as well. So it's definitely one I need to add to my list and read. What I'd like to ask next is about any daily ritual that you have that grounds you or gets you in the right mindset for the day. Do you have a daily habit?
Yeah, you guys, there's so much out there: breath work, meditation, yoga, movement, journaling, prayer. Like, I'm going to say this, I'm going to encourage all of you again. I know this has been coming up a lot. Play with things, because what works for me is going to be very different for John. But I'm going to say at the end of the day, more importantly, whatever you try, go back to your body. How do you feel? Do you feel more energized? Do you feel more grounded? Do you feel more calm? Do you feel more positive, right? Always look at that. So I will say, even with the techniques I give you, always go back to, after you tried a few times, like, how does it make me feel? Just like food choices and exercise, and like, listen to your body. It's going to tell you what it likes and what it doesn't. It's interesting, John. I've changed what I do through the years because I've changed, and what works for me. But I would say, honestly, for any of us, in what I always do at the beginning of the day, no matter what I have as far as a modality, I just sit and pause, and I don't even do anything. And what I mean is, you guys, that sounds really funny, but we don't do that. Where I sit, even, I've lengthened it, but if you guys even start with just 5 minutes where I don't care if it's sitting on a couch looking at the sunrise and doing nothing else, and just pausing and allowing your body to get used to just being where it's at. And what I say from that space of 5 minutes, tap into all your senses. Tap into kinesthetic, like what you're sitting in, you're feeling supported. Tap into your nose. Do you smell food cooking? Do you smell something from the outside? Is your window open? Close your eyes. What are you hearing outside? What are you hearing inside your space right now? Visually, what are you seeing? Like, when you tap into all your systems, you guys, you ground yourself in the present moment. Again, there's so many breath work, so much meditation, but you guys, just starting with helps you start connecting to your body, telling you when something's off or not. And then you can try other modalities as well. But often the body just wants to feel safe to do its job. And when you sit for a few minutes to tap into all your senses, you get present, and it's just hanging out, and it's not going to do anything. It gets present and it feels good. So that's where I would start with all of you. You guys, there's so much beyond that I teach in my programs, but just starting with that and what it feels like in your body and what it even feels like to feel good in your body, That will start making it perform better, but just get you to this place of more than performance, just feeling good and at peace and not having anxiety and overwhelm every day. So I would start with that. There's a lot of things I teach beyond that, from flow state performance and that your body needs to be bored and all this stuff. But that's probably obviously can be overwhelming. So I don't want to go too far with people, but just being an awareness of connecting to senses in your body when you're just hanging out, and just start with 5 minutes, and you'll be surprised how much that can ground and center you for the day by just doing that at the beginning of the day.
I think the final question I've got for you today is, what's the biggest lesson, this could be in life or in business, that you wish you'd learned 10 years earlier?
Man, so many of us, even high performing leaders, you guys, I keep saying this, behind the scenes, we're really scared to be ourselves. When push comes to shove, when I work with so many leaders and executives and high performers, moving into a space that they want to attain something, one of the biggest resistances and barriers is fear of being themselves, fear of bringing their idea, fear of doing it differently, fear of making a decision that doesn't work out and they face plant in front of others, like fear of just being themselves and trying things. And you guys, if I could go back to my younger self and to any of you, find out who you are, like I said, and courageously, one step at a time, every day, do it on purpose. Go back to you, even if you could get rejected, even if it doesn't work out and you face plant, even if you have to try again, even if you have no one that believes you, you'll find your people that do. But I truly believe you will live a more peaceful, joyful, impactful life when you go back to who you really are. You guys, and during my journey of depression, anxiety, and performing for performance sake and accolades and being exhausted and overwhelmed all the time, you guys, there's so many frameworks I've learned to move myself and my clients through to be in an elite environment, doing elite things with an elite team that's aligned with you, that feels good in vitality during challenge and change. And I love teaching. And why? Because I learned the biggest thing that you need to go back to make all that happen is find out who you are, and courageously, just one step every day, do it no matter the outcome. And having people support you if the outcome doesn't come out the way you want to, but it's vital. We don't need another version of you. We need the real you. And when you move into that space and work on that every day, the congruency, the resilience, the capacity, the confidence, and just being who you are and your worth reigns through no matter what happens out there. So I would say that to myself and to all of you. Find out who you are, go back to who you are, explore who you are, and then one step, courageous step every day when you're in fear, whatever that fear is, step. And you start seeing some congruence and momentum and confidence in that who you really are, and you become unstoppable. You truly do.
But I think that's a great message to end the session on. So I just want to say thank you very much for being on. If anyone wants to find out a little bit more about what you do and what programs you offer, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, absolutely. For one, you guys, if you have any questions from this podcast, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Or if you're looking for further coaching, I'm definitely here for you, but definitely check out my TEDx on the chemistry of resilience. It's going to help some of the things that we even talked about today. Number two, where you find me, I'm the most active on LinkedIn and then Instagram, and I answer my own DMs. So again, if you have questions on this episode, or you're just looking for potential coaching support, I love having conversations, learning about people's stories and getting curious. And if there's options there that I can support you, great. But I'm here to make sure that all of you are living the impactful life, because that really feeds my passion and my joy. And I'd love to hear from all of you.
I'm hoping that anyone listening today realize it's not weak to change direction, it's brave. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop, feel, and choose a new way forward, which is definitely a message you've been promoting throughout this podcast. So thank you for being with us. And yeah, I've really enjoyed the chat. Thank you.
Thank you.